I don't care if you are black or white or whatever. If you ever meet a white person named Huckleberry, he has less money than you. That is the white, trashiest name I've ever heard in my life. If you have a name like Huckleberry, you're doomed to fail. If I was in court and my lawyer came up and was like, I am your attorney, Huckleberry Finn, I'd be like, uh-oh, I'm going to jail.
Welcome back to the Circle Trust Podcast. Today is Friday, January 16th. Look at me going back-to-back weekends, back-to-back weeks. I still didn't make the time right, but we got a lot to go through today. Interesting conversation. I want to start off with a disclaimer. I'm going to talk about some things I haven't talked about. I'm gonna have an opinion. Gonna have a big opinion on some things, and brought in a special guest with me. He's going to be part of the discussion, not just the discussion, but what we're going to talk about in the discussion. Been a great week. On the calendar, let's go ahead and go through the calendar real quick. Tonight, and Katie, we got Camo going live for, I don't know, man. They just talk about how great they are down there. I guess it's going to be amazing. That's what they do. They work out and talk about how great they are. Them in St. Louis. I said it. See, starting off hot. But 6 o'clock, God's time, I think is what they call it. I don't know what time that is. It's not mountain time, evidently. But they're going to go live. I think they got an hour beat down every hour on the hour for 24 hours. I don't think guys do all of them, but many of them do. And then that's going to roll all the way through. And then I think he's going to start us off Saturday morning, a little bit later for the UK guys after mid-morning or lunchtime rather. And then I'm going to go live here in Boise for our 5th year convergence. We're expecting hopefully 100 dudes. We've never broken 100 dudes in a participation in a convergence. We've had 92 and we've had 88, but we've never broken 100. And numbers aren't a big deal. But we certainly, when it's a big number, we lose the sense of urgency when the importance of every dude showing up. When you get a big number, you just assume somebody else is going to be there. And when it's just a few of us, like some guys, just got Bluffton, Ohio. I just talked to them on Slack about small towns, and they only have 4 or 5 guys. But man, what a importance it is for those guys to show up. Mm-hmm. Just want to give a couple shout outs. Evidently last week I gave a couple shout outs and they all reached out to me. So people are listening evidently. And I want to thank Bada Bing for being on here last week. People said we look like a before and after picture. We're both, he's a beautiful man. So if I get compared to that, man, I'm cool with it. But, we got the Train Hard Men's Club thing going on. I want to give a shout out to Magnum and what he's doing. 2,800 or so men participating. I want to give a shout out to Ralph putting on the Make America Burpee again. I want to give a shout out to all you guys doing the 75 hard. I'm on my 10th day, no alcohol. On my 50th year, no cocaine. So I'm still pushing through. I got a little bit of irritations, the sleep and the crutch. Not eating at night, not getting those extra calories before I go to bed. It certainly makes a difference on your sleeping and attitude, and certainly want to give a shout out to my boys in Lexington, South Carolina. No help, man. I've been in touch with him recently, and it takes me back to the Ken doll and the Rocketeer Gym and the blah blah days and just amazing dudes over there. The guy who EH'd me treadmill and yellow cake, man, it's like it was yesterday. That's about 11 years ago. I'm on my 11th year. Just want to give a shout out to those guys. Quisenberry. I want to give a shout out to Gravy. Gravy over in, I think he's in Jacksonville. He's a cotter, just coming back. And he sent me this text of his wife sent him and how thankful she is of the F3 group down there in Jacksonville and what that's doing for him. And certainly, let me go through the calendar real quick. Tuesday, we have State of the Nation. So make sure your local listings, I know it's 8 p.m. rather, Eastern time, 6 p.m. Mountain time. Camo, I don't know what time that is for you, but we'll do that. And then Not Jake, let me give him a shout out too. Look at me bouncing back and forth. Counter and shout outs. Not Jake over there somewhere in the middle of nowhere, starting his own region, reaching out. T-Claps, all those guys. I started off that intro. If you're watching on YouTube, you got to see it. But if you're on the podcast, you got to hear it. Dave Chappelle, talking about Huckleberry, and that's been sent to me a couple times. Again, I'm going to give a disclaimer. There's some things on the internet that we're going to talk about. And I hope you're okay with it. And with me, I brought in the coolest kid I know, the Shredder, over at just South London. I've learned, got to visit the UK, and it sure was comforting. I didn't get to hug him. If you've been around me, I'm a hugger. But I knew if I got into an issue, he was the first guy I was going to call, and luckily I didn't. Shredder, you want to introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, and do a better job than I did.
Absolutely, no, you did a great job. Yeah, I'm sorry we didn't get to hug it out. That would have been good. But you did sit in a good pub, didn't you? And you got in Richmond,
Mhm.
amongst
Ted
others, I
Lasso.
think. Yeah, Ted Lasso's pub. Do you know, I must confess, I haven't seen Ted Lasso because it's Apple TV, isn't it? And even though I'm an Apple boy, I
Is
don't
Ted
have the
Lasso
telly.
big in the UK?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Okay.
so, you know. I mean, my telly at the moment, I've been watching A Thousand Blows, which I quite enjoyed. Teach you some more British slang. That's on Disney Plus. I've also just finished Stranger Things, and I'm really ashamed to admit that I watched The Witcher season 4. I know it's one of those things where I needed cleansing afterwards. Anyway, look, Shredder, Ken, 51. I'm actually now by the time this comes out, one of the AOQs at the Brook because we have another one starting this weekend.
This comes
And
out this afternoon, so you
yeah,
are
well, there
not
you go.
AOQ yet.
So tomorrow we have a new AOQ, and we're basically the first. We're part of Surrey and London border region, but we're basically the first AO in London. It would have been my pleasure to come and rescue you from trouble. I would have brought the boys. It would have been good.
And anybody that visits Boise, you know, we're gonna say the same thing. All right, couple things. Do you watch the? I think it was the Grammys. I'm gonna pick a fight with this narrative. Do you ever watch the Grammys? I don't. I don't. The
No,
Americans
I
awarded these,
sometimes check the results. You know, it's a bit like the football or the soccer. I check the results, but I don't tend to watch it live anymore.
and I watch the YouTube clips. Nikki Glazier, man, she does an amazing job. Hilarious.
She's funny.
Just she is amazing. I don't, you know, of course, I don't agree with everybody all the time, but she does a fantastic job. But right after her was the first award for Best Supporting Actress, and they had these two women presenters, and it was Amanda Seyfried and Jennifer Garner, two amazing
Oh, yeah,
women,
yeah.
and they stood up there and they were just like they were strong. They were like, "Man, we are proud women, and we're here to recognize another strong woman, and we're just strong. We're strong. We're strong." And I love that. And the lady got up there. She won the award, and she's a strong woman. The next presenter, Best Supporting Male, it was Kevin Bacon and his wife, Keira Sedgwick. And man, the first things out of his mouth, I mean, it was like, oh, y'all watch and disagree with me, but it's like a man has to put his tail between his legs. He can't stand up there and talk about how strong he is. He got to talk about how he got to put the seat down. He's got to do a better job at around the house. And it was like this, why, why couldn't he stand up there? Why couldn't two men stand up there and say, hey, let's be strong. Let's be strong and let's recognize other strong men. And I hear that a lot. I think it's okay for men to be somewhat belittled in society, or somewhat we get to know this. Maybe we're toxic, you know, if we show strength. And I think that I hope we get a little course correction on that. Am I wrong on that? Do you see that?
I think sometimes the way obviously there's media personas, isn't there? And you get them up there and they're doing their thing. And I heard Nikki make a lot of jokes about Kevin Hart, you know, being The Rock's plus a half and all the things like that. And I think because of toxic masculinity, some men perhaps have tried to bring themselves down, and perhaps they just don't have good role models to know how to say that they're strong, to say that they're good. Because sometimes we've made a lot of mistakes in the past, haven't we, as men? You know, we've gone too far. I mean, I I get tired of how many scandals I keep seeing in the press about another man that's done this. And you know, today I was looking on the news and it said, "Oh, well, now there's allegations about Julio Iglesias," and I'm like, man had more pants thrown at him than the changing guy in Walmart. You know, so I'm not surprised there might be an allegation or two, but I don't know. I don't know where we go, Huck. To be honest.
All right. Well, we call that foreshadowing in America, because there's going to be something coming later down the line. We're going to talk about that again.
Okay.
And I can't wait till you see it. All right. One of the things, and another, I'm going to talk about some of the things that come up at the SLT level. It's a little bit. I don't want to call it a whetstone, but it's a little bit of an artificial whetstone. I get hit. I got hit a couple weeks ago. A guy had and you tell me, and you know, guys don't come to F3 to get their oil changed. Guys don't come to F3 to get the chiropractic work. I don't believe guys come to F3 to get church. I don't know why church just can't be church, and F3 has to somehow cross that line. And what was going on is a ton of Bible verses on the socials, and when we're present to be open to all men, maybe ask the dude if said, "Hey, would you put quotes from the Quran up there? Would you put quotes from the Book of Mormon up there?" And the answer is no. And I'm like, well, F3 would. F3 absolutely would. And I think that's the difference. And I think we lose, man. The guy got real frustrated with me. I think he scrubbed the AO and told me I was questioning. He was not going to compromise his faith. And I don't feel like I asked him to do that. But it was one of those situations. Tell me, help me through that one.
Not easy, is it? I mean, when I started the Brook, I obviously, for those of the people that don't know who are watching or listening, I'm a pastor. I'm a Baptist pastor in the UK, and I reached out to a few colleagues and I said, look, I'm starting something I've been doing for nearly 9 months. This is really life changing for the church. I think sometimes F3 is more like what I think the church should be than what the church is.
You are
But
not the
it's
first person to tell me that.
but it's not the church. And I said to them, like, if you want to get on board, we'd love your men to come. And as I know happens a lot for you in America, there are a number of church sites where AOs are hosted. So you potentially even could host, but it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the men, and it belongs to all of the men. And I think that creates a tension. And I was queuing this week, and actually it was the first time I ever read. I think I read 4 words of a scripture out, and it was the first time I've used a scripture. And so there could be Christians who'd look at me and go, well, you're not being a good Christian. But if you want to listen to me preach, you come on a Sunday or you go on YouTube and you can hear me talk about whatever we're supposed to be on. Whereas in an F3 workout, I'm not going to do that because I don't think it's the place. And I can see why it would put people off. But equally, honestly, Huck, I can see why people do it. And because they care about something passionately, and perhaps, well, I'm going to say it's between them and God at that point. I'm not going to say they go too far, but it's a difficult wave to surf, I think.
And I hope F3 brings out more of dudes. Like if you are a religious, deeply religious guy, I hope F3 gives you the confidence to dive deeper, do a deeper dive individually and do it. But when you put the banner of F3 behind you, and again, I'm foreshadowing a little bit, but it takes on, when you represent F3, when you represent a larger organization, a larger perspective across the planet, individuals look for things out there in the world and they make judgments, and we atone for that. F3 has to answer to that or has a duty to respond, I think. And
you said that last week, didn't you? You said that when you were talking about it being about speaking with the voice, about being speaking with, yeah. So I heard you talking about that a week ago, and I was mulling that in my head as I was like, yeah, I need to watch that sometimes.
Speaking of, all right, we're going to go, and then I'm going to do a little bit of a highlight session. There were some great things out there in the interweb. And one of the greatest discussions I have heard in a long time took place right. I want to jump into the middle of a conversation. I apologize for that, but you feel free to go back and watch it and hit the whole context. But I'm going to jump in right here where they start talking about the third F and faith in F3 and what that means to them.
Is outside of yourself. Certainly aware of people who've looked at F3 and then done some searching around websites and said, oh yeah, you're a religious organization. Well, actually, no. Well, we encourage you as a man to think of someone outside of yourself. Don't be 100% selfish. Think of relationships with other people. Think of what you're doing for your community, for your family, for your religious group, if you're that way inclined. I'm not. I'm quite openly say I'm atheistic, but I do believe in that there's a greater good out there that we need to work for. Not just, I don't need to work for myself. I need to work for the community and for relationships with other people and other organizations around us. Perfect example there, that charity you mentioned there, Shredder. Fantastic. There's a great example there of what I can do to add value outside of my life.
So it's going to be naughty now. Can I ask a naughty question?
Depends. So I need to mark the clips.
Yeah, mark the clip. Mark the clip now. My naughty question for you is this: is in terms of the way you see that belief, do you have faith in what you see as an atheist? Because
do I believe it and do I throw myself behind it?
Yeah. Where you talked a minute ago was about having faith in other men and other things.
Yeah.
You didn't use the word faith, but you did. So that's a faith position.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not religion.
So I'm gonna. So this is the interesting thing, because
you can have faith without religion, which is
say that because I don't believe in atheists. I believe that we're all faith positioned people, all of us.
Yeah.
And so if somebody said to me, you're religious, I would say, no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm a faith person.
Yeah.
So that was my
Yeah.
naughty question is because I do think that if we unpick it a little, I don't think there are many people that are walking around on the planet that aren't faith people. But I just think our terms have become, they're not so helpful for us as they might be. And I do think sometimes it creates a division which is based on bad histories or dichotomies and a lack. Because if you say to somebody like me, you say, well, you're religious and I'm not, you can create barriers. I mean, we don't really have them. I mean, there'll be bits that of course, there's things in life we don't agree on, but that would happen whether we were talking about a theistic view of anything anyway, or not. You drive a Tesla. I mean, I drive a Dacia. We'll have different views on cars and on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry, that was my naughty question.
But then if you ask me about, I say, organized religions.
Yes.
If you know what I mean here. I'm talking all organized religions here.
Yeah.
Are there principles that I follow from those religions? Yes. There's some really good Christian principles. Love thy neighbor. Don't be a dick.
I remember which
They're
scripture
pretty
don't be a
much
dick
summarizes the New Testament, doesn't it? Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. It's not quite the words Jesus used, but
it's
I
close
think
enough.
It's pretty decent.
Yeah. It's like, look, be nice to people. Treat people as you expect to be treated.
Yes.
Don't do anything. Don't kill people. The Ten Commandments are a good starting point.
Yeah.
Don't believe the story behind how they got there, but the principles, I can stand behind most of them.
Yes. I got asked by my nearly 6-year-old on the drive home from holiday last week, what do scientists believe about God?
Ooh,
and I said, well, the last big study I saw said the position in 2020 was the same as the position in 1960. Around 40% of scientists went, yes, we believe in a creator. Around 40% go, no, we don't believe in a creator. And around 20% go, we don't know what we believe. And over the course of 60 years, that's where science is evolved with all of its theories and abilities. And I'm like, science is fabulous. They're constantly evolving and understanding. And then as we were crossing over the Dartford Bridge, my children wanted me to talk about the Big Bang. And I was far more concerned about a Big Bang on that horrible bridge. So I just asked them just to be quiet, let Daddy drive just for a few minutes. He just wants to get across the bridge.
Like that over the
horrible thing. Horrible thing.
There's a worse one in Lille.
No doubt. Anyway, look, we should.
Anyway, right, I'll remark it, and we'll come back in. Probably more agnostic than atheist. That 4/20/40 ratio.
It's an interesting phenomenon for me anyway, where when it comes to views of eternity, there's these Christian views called things like amillennial, premillennial, postmillennial. And then somebody said, I like panmillennial. And I was like, what's that? And they said, well, it'll all pan out.
But what an incredible moment for two men who both agree with faith, whether they're atheist or anyway. What did you say? Did you say? I can't remember. We just watched it, and we didn't just watch it. I had to edit that out. But you said you're a man of faith. You're not a religious man. You're a man of faith. Did I get that right?
Yeah. It's an interesting reality, really, because religiosity or being religious is something that many people get. It's almost accused of. You're religious, and I'm like, religious tends to, in my brain, go in line with certain rites and rituals and practices, and the religious world, certainly in my country's history, has caused a lot of harm, and we right now even have people talking closely towards the language of crusades again. The reappropriation of symbols of Christianity by the far right has become a big issue. And so I'd react a little bit against being called religious and say that I'm a man of faith because, this is not the appropriate place for me to explain my full faith in Jesus, but I have a faith in Jesus. And I hold on to that dearly, and I believe it to be true, but I believe it all in faith. So I can't prove it. And as I was saying to Flea, I believe that pretty much every person, however they assign a label, is a person of faith. We, as Flea was talking about being an atheist, I said, well, that's a faith position. It's a faith position. So that's a kind
What came
of
first?
movement.
What came
I've come
first,
to.
faith or religion?
Well, that is an interesting question. Faith. When you say what came first, for me, when I look, the first record that I read of life is in Genesis. So to me, God made people and said to them, live with me, live free, but just don't do this. And they were called to live in that in faith. And they chose not to do that. They chose seduction. They chose to take the apple when they were told not to. I guess, like I say, I feel painted by the taint of what religiosity has done. When I went to New Zealand, I'd been there a couple of weeks, and the New Zealanders were such generous people, and they said to me, "We're celebrating the festival of Waitangi, or the remembrance of Waitangi," and I was like, "Tell me about that." And then they were telling me my history that we heard nothing of in school, about how British soldiers came and camped on church grounds with an enforced slave army of Aboriginal soldiers and went out after they'd taken communion to slaughter Maoris, the Christian Maoris who'd become Christians because of missionaries. Some of the tribes got hell off their soldiers because after counting how many British soldiers there were, they said, well, we have more men, but we won't send them out in greater numbers because it's not fair. They would be more Christian than the people that had come to kill them, to take the land away. So I really do struggle with that term, and maybe more so than others. But I think faith is a free thing, So if someone comes to me in F3 and they say, I'm of a different, we would call a religious faith, I don't have to worry about that. I don't have a problem with that. That's actually great. But I guess I would gently, in relationship, chat to people who say I don't have a faith, and actually perhaps help them to see what they really do have faith in. Because like I say, I think almost everyone does.
Agree. Have you ever heard of Bob Jones University over there in Greenville, South Carolina?
Yes, I think so.
That is where my parents met. My parents met there, and that's a product of 4 to 4. My father was a preacher my entire childhood, so that's kind of my history and how I grew up. But just want to throw that in there. Son of a preacher. Oh, that preacher son. All right, cool. Great discussion. You guys did a great job talking about it, and I encourage you to go back and listen to that entire podcast. An hour and a half of it. 2-speed that thing, get it down to 45 minutes on the. I ride the elliptical. No, not the elliptical. The bike in the gym, and that's my favorite thing to do is listen to you guys while I'm just cranking out the miles and getting that knee flexed. All right, now we're gonna get to the meat of the program. You ready for this one?
Huh.
You ready? Here we go. All right. Disclaimer. Have you ever had a boss and they came in and they said, "Hey, we're going to move you. We're going to move you over here. We think you'll be better over here." And they've never included you in that conversation. Have you ever been in an HR situation like that?
No.
Well, it happens. And anytime somebody talks about you and you're not in the room and you can't defend yourself or you can't explain yourself fully, it's frustrating. So if this next clip gets you frustrated, I want you to let it not. I want you to listen. I want you to enjoy it. I want you to soak it in. And it's about 12 minutes. And we're going to watch Shredder experience it just for the 5 times. And I'm going to cut a lot of this out so guys aren't going to see like some of the details. Let me see if I made that a little bit bigger.
Heard of this Daniel plan.
So what we're jumping into, and again, I'm jumping in the middle of a conversation, it takes place at a church, and it's an adult education course. This pastor, reverend, is standing up here and looking for cultural significance inside of America today. I guess it's examples of modern faith-based self-improvement plans. And she's going over the Daniel plan. I've never heard of that, but this is going to segue into, guess what? You'll see.
What we're called to do as Christians is to be in conversation with culture. But I noticed a sort of a melding and a blending here. There's another one that I wanted to mention, which I hadn't heard of until I mentioned to my cousin that I was going to be talking about this topic. And he said, "Oh, are you going to talk about F3? Have you guys heard of F3 at all?" Okay, it's a men's workout group. F3 stands for Fitness, Fellowship, and Faith. And I'm going to show you, yes, Ken, you've heard of this group? Let's get you the mic.
We have a close friend in Atlanta for whom he has become in the leadership of it, and for many men, very transformative.
Yeah. Yep. So I'll show a couple of videos about this. It's a really it's sort of a kind of a grassroots group. It's sort of self-organizing communities of men working out together. And it is based in kind of a model of not just fitness, but also faith and fellowship. And it's a group that's gotten some critiques of what is, the goal is to develop male community leadership. Is there a sort of underlying message here of Christian nationalism or a sort of conservative family agenda? But I want to show you 2 videos of this, and I'd love you to sort of ask yourselves those same questions about human nature, human struggle, human flourishing. What's the model that you see here? So let's try this. We've got Keith with us, and hopefully this'll work. Yes.
Make no mistake, man. Every day you're in a battle for your health, a battle for your family, a battle for your very soul. There are forces, seen and unseen, that want you to fail. They're counting on you to fail. Some of these are within your own mind, reminding you of your past failures, telling you, hey, stay in the comfort of your warm bed instead of waking up, doing something difficult, and accelerating with other men who support you and require your support in return. This is F3. They're no lone wolves. We're a pack of men with a shared vision to plant, grow, and serve for the invigoration of male leadership in our community. We are F3.
Okay, that's one video. I'm going to show you one more, and then we'll talk about them. So that's one video, and then there's another video that they have that's a very different sort of tone. So let's watch this one too.
This is Mike. In college, he had a lot of time to hang out with his buddies. Then, he graduated, got a good job, married a great woman, and started a family. So Mike has had to learn how to prioritize and make choices, which more and more means skipping the gym. Lately, Mike's friend Jimmy won't shut up about his workout group, F3. Mike's not a morning guy, but he knows he needs to work out. Now, it's 5:15 a.m., and Jimmy's sitting out front with the motor running. Mike was pleasantly surprised. F3 is not a new fitness center. F3 is a free outdoor workout open to all men. There's no meathead with a clipboard counting reps. The workout is led by group members. So what is F3 all about? First, Mike's having fun getting in the best shape of his adult life. He also looks forward to that alarm going off because he belongs to a team of 15 to 20 guys that show up every morning, rain or shine. And maybe most important, Mike now wants to have an impact on the world around him. Call it faith or whatever you want. It's a new sense of purpose in his life. F3 is expanding and growing as we plant shovel flags around the country. Find the workout nearest you and join Mike and thousands of other men of F3 Nation at f3nation.com.
Okay, so this some promotional videos for F3 to encourage everybody if you haven't made your well, I wanted us to look at these as how can we analyze these as sort of cultural artifacts in that same question of what do these say about human nature, what do they say about human flourishing, human struggle, and how is that sort of similar to or different from the resolutions that we saw? So I saw Ken with your hand up in the back. Rocky, can we get the mic to Ken?
I just want to add that our friend in Atlanta, yes, they meet at 6 o'clock, rain or shine. They don't carry umbrellas. They don't have rain suits. And they are a powerful force for each other. Nothing in what he has shared is anything like the first, which tells us the spectrum. They are just as socially active as this church or other people we know. So obviously, it's got a wide spectrum.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I mean, I did some research, and I was like, gosh, there's accounts of this that really suggest that this is a positive force for good. There are other accounts that seem to say this is a gateway to Christian nationalism. But I think there's a big spectrum, and even in the way that the group talks about itself, there seems to be a spectrum. The two videos, as you pointed out, are so different in tone. They seem young. Yes, I think this is not Silver Sneakers F3. Yes.
That they pick the flag
Yeah, so the American flag, so shovel flags. Why not a cross? Yeah, no. So Kathy asked about, notice the symbolism of the flag, which is planted on a shovel because they don't have a physical space, right? So the group can meet anywhere. There's a where two or three are gathered kind of element to it, and there's also a flag attached. Yeah, Chris, go ahead. Sheila, sorry.
This was vaguely familiar. In the 1980s, there was something called Faith, Fitness, and Fellowship, FFF, and it was for women.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I didn't find I've not myself been able to join this group to find out. Although I will say in my own life, my exercise, I'm part of two different groups, a running group and a swimming group. And I mean, that is a third space for me. It is a source of connection. I think this can be a really good, I think working out together can be a good way for people to have community, and it's not just about your body. Let's keep going. Let's see Jennifer over here.
When a woman showed up, she didn't have clothes on.
The woman didn't have clothes on.
This was really, really striking. The only depiction we have, if we don't call it the girl in the second one, is the wife.
I thought she had clothes on.
She looks like, if she has anything, it's a bikini.
Oh, I think she was wearing clothes. But
Boy, it
she
sure didn't look like it to me.
She was attractive. She was definitely designed to be like, look, Mike has this hot wife, And
Mike has this hot wife because if she has clothes on, they're completely form-fitting.
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
And that's the only time.
Yes, I see Margie. Yeah.
I'm just curious how diverse it looked like it was all white male.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer. I would need to do research to know the answer to that. The video did show mostly white men, but not all. Yeah.
Just quickly, maybe a little off point, but I think exercise is a luxury. You have to have childcare. You have to have access. You have to have a lot of things that a lot of people don't have.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. So Mike, we assume his wife is on childcare duty from 5 a.m. to, yes. Although I do think this is a group that is encouraging, one of the values of the group is active involvement in one's family, that's, part of what they're, yes, at this table over here.
I don't know, but this scared me.
Okay.
And I've noticed that it's mostly women that are offering comments here, and I wonder how, just the flag, all the white men, all the obvious wealth, the $3 signs, really made me feel like less.
Interesting.
Right?
So as a woman,
kind of worried.
How are you responding?
As a woman or anybody who is different in gender or color or wealth or any of those things seem to be less than this. You could be in this.
Right. And I think there's there is that question here is, where are the women in this video? What are their roles? And at the same, I've read a very neutral New York Times article about this that was like, there's an epidemic of male loneliness, like, is this something that speaks to men in a way that some other cultural organizations don't? So, I saw over here, and then I think I saw Ida in the back. Great.
I just wanted to add about the loneliness for the white male in America. That article, and obviously the commitments that they have to be more than is overwhelming. They don't talk about, white men don't talk about the responsibility that is placed on their shoulders in America. But if you work with families like I did for 28 years, you actually see it. You actually empathize with the fact that they are so lonely and cannot talk about it.
Yeah.
So to me, that's good.
Yeah. Regardless of, I don't want this to be just sort of an evaluation of F3, right? We're part of what we're talking about is using this as a lens to think about our own culture. And that question of male disconnection, male loneliness after college, are men making friends with each other? Are they, that's an important question to be considering. And so this is an example of a group that's trying to do that. Yeah. Yes.
We've had a lot of opportunity to witness what I would consider bad behavior by white men, and so I had the same emotional response to, ooh, man.
Sure. Yeah, the flags,
okay? Right.
the boot camp stuff. Yeah.
I would just also want to point out that if that had been women doing things that women enjoy, and they'd all been white, none of us would have that reaction. Now, or I wouldn't have had that reaction, and it doesn't make it okay. I'm not defending it. I don't know anything about F3.
Yeah.
I would just posit that the idea of drawing men together in a masculine way to create fellowship is not fundamentally bad.
Sure. Yeah.
It's what people do with that,
Right.
or potentially do with that, and we've seen a lot of that, which I object to. But if we co-opt all that to also say masculinity and fellowship in masculine environments is not okay, I don't think that's healthy.
Yeah.
For white men, certainly.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, are the things that are coded in this video that give us pause or give us concern, is that reaction then going to spill over into sort of a condemning of all sort of male-only spaces or places that sort of are meant to cultivate men being together in fellowship? I think that's an important question. I mean, I think one of our texts right now, what I'm experiencing, is analyzing our own reactions to this, you know? So I appreciate that comment. Yeah, let's get one or two more, and then we will move on to the Bible eventually.
I think Tom makes a really good point. We have this inclination to put things in extreme buckets, and almost everything in life is on some sort of spectrum.
Yeah.
And for me, a trigger for an extreme is when people tie an American flag to faith.
Sure.
And I find that I've never seen it where it isn't potentially dangerous. And it's shocking to a lot of people that Jesus didn't speak English and never lived in America.
Sure.
I mean, these are facts.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and probably had pretty dark skin, too.
Sure.
These are things that I think, but so for me, that's a trigger to put it on an extreme end.
Yeah.
But in reality, there are groups across the spectrum, and some are very, very positive and healthy and helpful, and some are trying to get rid of the 19th Amendment.
Sure.
So-
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. I'm hearing that as an echo of a point that Ken had made earlier about that this is a spectrum, and the people who participate are on a spectrum. And that question of, does the flag associated with church is that a signal of Christian nationalism? I think that's actually a complicated question, too. The first congregation I served, many congregations have an American flag in their sanctuary. That is a point of contention if you are the pastor of the church that's making that decision about whether to remove the American flag from your sanctuary, like, Godspeed, you know? But for some people, the flag and cross together that means something. It's a symbol of Christian nationalism. For other people, that can be just the background that they're used to from their childhood. You know, it's not necessarily a signal that those two things are put together in a conscious way of committing towards a sort of triumphalist Christianity. But the question of how does that read to us when those symbols are put together is an important one. We are going way beyond self-improvement here, but this has triggered a fantastic conversation. Let's give Mark the last word on this, and then we'll move along. Yeah.
Well, back to F3, what struck me, since they're supposed to be doing this outside, and this felt more like the Southeast Conference of college football to me.
Sure.
You know, I do pretty much those same exercises by myself every morning. I wouldn't try to go outside and do them for about 6 months of the year. And it just feels like once you get the college football mentality again, it's all about beating somebody, too. A W is what counts.
Okay, so is there sort of built into this a sort of competitiveness? And they are, I think, more prominent in the Southeast, where it's because they're usually morning outdoor workouts. I did look; we do have some groups that meet in Minneapolis, theoretically outside at 7 in the morning. I would not. There's an added level of intensity, I think. But they began in Charlotte, and I do think they're more prominent in the Southeast. So thanks for this good conversation. I really have appreciated.
Muted.
I had one job. So before we talk, I have this. There's a way of going about these conversations that I like to do. It's like going into an art museum. You and I first talk about maybe what we saw and what we maybe agree with, and we agree. And because if you don't agree that you see the same thing, why go into the meeting? So let's agree with what we saw, and then let's talk about it. Is that okay?
Yeah, of
That makes
course.
sense. What I saw was some very intelligent people, very articulate, and a great conversation, an outstanding conversation. I think well, I won't talk about that yet. What did you see?
Yeah, I mean, I saw them watch two different videos, and I enjoyed watching both those videos, and then I watched them then generally just have a conversation about the second of those videos. And what I kind of saw was, because we don't know the end, I was all the way through going, what scripture is this pastor taking them to? Where are they going with this? Because that was missing for me. And it was interesting to see how people led out their words in terms of what they were watching. I would like to have been able to see the people as well as the pastor, to be honest, to see their faces.
I'm glad I didn't. And if you're watching on if you're listening to on the podcast, they don't show the speakers, or they show the main speaker, Reverend Fox. I did email her. She did email me back. I let her know she is welcome to use us anytime she wants as a talking point. I think you only have to sidetrack, but I think you only have to get defensive if you're doing something wrong. And when you're not out there doing anything wrong, we don't have anything to get defensive about. And I encourage the discussion with outside parties. And I'm glad. I'm so thankful she did it and enlightened a bunch of people to the amazingness of F3. Yeah.
It was really good. I mean, it was really good to hear them talking about F3 a little bit, and what an opportunity that would be to be able to continue that conversation. I mean, I had to Google what the 19th Amendment was, by the way, as that was going on.
Women's right to vote.
Right, yeah. So I Googled that because I was like, I don't know these amendments. It was just interesting to listen, especially to the man who said, well, I do those exercises, I just don't do them outside. And they were assuming we were all young dudes and collegey type dudes. And I was just,
I'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah, no.
If you're going to mess one thing up, man, call me young any day. You can make that mistake all day.
Exactly. I suspect men will be like taking that at all of our lives, won't we? Yeah, absolutely. Mind you, you said on last week, you said you were about to turn 50.
Is
that right?
In July. As a matter of fact, yesterday I am 49 and a half. Or I'm 1,732 months old.
Wow. I actually got asked by my 6-year-old this week how many months old I was, and I was like, Daddy doesn't need to talk about that. Yeah, because you're a year and a month younger than me, so I'm 52 in June. No, you're 2 years and a month younger than me, and you'll be joining the Respect channel on Slack finally.
I'm in the no respect zone right now. No respect that the younger guys get that word. So just to recap, at the beginning of this podcast, I had a young man tell me I was poor. In this same space, I've been told I'm too wealthy.
Right. It was an interesting one, wasn't it?
In this podcast, I have been not religious enough, and now I'm too religious. And I feel like there's kind of a natural whetstone of like, I think if I get in 10 minutes, I'm going to be a hypocrite. Like, no, we're not religious enough. Oh, we're too religious. And it's hard. It's hard. And it's difficult to present yourself in a way, in my opinion. Now let's go into what it means. We saw what we saw. Do you guys get any flack for the British flag out there with y'all?
Well,
you would in Welsh, or
I mean, I mentioned it in a previous cadence where when Wales and Scotland get planted on Northern Ireland, there'll be different flags because they will not. I studied and trained in Wales and lived there for 12 years. They won't be rocking a Union Jack. It will be the Welsh Dragon because of their history and some of those histories we share. And we fought a lot. I mentioned a few minutes ago, we are now in a place where elements of the far right, and I think our far right and your far right are not quite the same. Our far right might be a little bit more calm, potentially. Well, anyway.
You're right. I'll go ahead and say you're right on that one.
But there is a lot of appropriation. Recently some marches had happened in London, and somebody said to me, these far right marches are trying to, they want to sing hymns and they want to go back to the white man's Bible. And I'm like, and as that pastor, as the lady near the end said, Jesus was no white man, and he certainly didn't speak English. And those things do scare me. So the flag is useful while it's useful, as far as I'm concerned. And I think I heard Walter say on the High Impact Man podcast, in the places where you would not get benefit from using it, don't use it. Just don't use it, and you do have a very different, we don't pledge allegiance in the UK. We don't have some perhaps of the tensions that you have to face over a relationship with a flag. I mean, bless the Welsh, they're not even on our flag. No wonder they wouldn't want it. There's no dragon on that bad boy.
Did you know there's an F3 exercise called the Welsh Dragon?
Really?
It's terrible.
I messed up Tennessee Tennessee rocking chairs and Carolina dry docks this morning when I was queuing. I said Carolina and it was supposed to be Tennessee. These states messed up, it's hard, all this crazy lingo. But yeah, I think we talked about this. We're looking at 1 or 2 expansion sites into London already. And as I was chatting with a new AOQ starting this weekend, we're going to go and do a bit of scouting soon to look at perhaps the next AO, because, 7 months in, let's go. Let's get on with this mission. And we've already had these conversations because there are parts of London where it might not benefit. And at that point, then you just don't use it.
Yeah.
Simple.
What about the tie to the flag to faith? And again, we kind of dove into faith versus religion a little while ago, but do we think that maybe they meant tied American flag to religion, or is it American tied to faith? And should we do a better job? I find if I ever get frustrated in my mind, I just say I need to teach. Like at the moment I get frustrated, I'm like, get into teach mode, because A, you can't teach mad, and it gets you'll stop being mad. But B, it's probably just a lack of communication on both sides of the party. And we as F3 need to stand up and shout who we are and teach the world who we are and communicate with them. And I think that's what we're trying to do.
You and I are kind of in a place where we have a number of clearly thought out beliefs in life. And it's quite clear when you listen to those people in that room that they have a different definition of faith than the one that we would use in F3. So I think they're tying it much more closely to the Christian faith, aren't they? I think that's their belief. And I don't know the reasons why Americans would struggle with tying the Christian faith to the flag. But what I do know, and so I'm very nervous about saying this, is
we got circle of trust.
No, that's fine. Well, I think circle of trust, then, just between you and me.
Internet.
I think I have been known to say that I feel like some people have said things to me as Christians, and it sounds like they worship the flag more than they do Jesus. And I've said that to 1 or 2 Christians that I know, and I'm not directing that into F3.
Are you directing at American or Britons?
We don't worship a flag. So like I said, we don't pledge allegiance to the flag. So I think I've had this conversation with 1 or 2 American Christians, and I've said I'm concerned that sometimes unquenching allegiance is potentially a dangerous thing. And to 1 or 2 of them, I've said it concerns me that it sounds like your faith is more in your flag than your savior, and that's not without risks. That's me surfing the edge of a wave.
I just paused because it makes it awkward, and I'm not trying to make you go anymore. I found it interesting because I went to a couple of BDs in the UK, and man, they started chanting USA, 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 and I think and I'm like, we don't do that here. We just don't, not at all. I know I go to Charleston, South Carolina, and they do say the pledge at the end or the beginning of the workout. I can't remember, but that's the only place I've ever heard that. That if you didn't, I'll be honest with you, if you didn't, like, we don't stand around and just stare at the dang thing. We do.
Pledge of allegiance in the BD. Is that pledge you mean?
Yeah, Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah. Okay.
That didn't happen.
I have to say, contextually, as an outsider, whenever that's seen in my mind, it's seen when somebody is getting their citizenship. That's how it appears in a film, in a TV show. Earlier you mentioned Jennifer Garner, and immediately I thought about Alias, because Alias was one of the most brilliant TV shows I'd ever seen, and I watched it probably about 4 or 5 times. So good.
So good. She's an amazing actress.
My goodness, so good. And so that's kind of, I would say, the typical outside US experience. We think if somebody becomes a citizen, hand up, hand on the heart or hand on the Bible or whatever, they pledge in a group, and then it ends. It's a bit like the typical image of a funeral in America is always in the rain, and it's a kind of Spider-Man Tobey Maguire moment where they're all in trench coats and it's pouring, and there's a pastor in sort of full length robes, probably Episcopalian or Catholic, and he says some words as it fades out, and it's all we see, you know. So it's been stereotyped. But so would it be used in other settings? Is that normal? Other than
the American flag?
The pledge. Would you?
They, we say it in the schools every day. I think it's a state law.
Okay.
Every morning at the beginning, the announcements come on, and the people recite the pledge. A lot of kids decide they don't want to. They'll stay seated, and that's not a big deal to school officials. I'm sure somebody listens out there saying, you better grab them and force them and put their hand. But nobody does that. Plenty of people at sport. We do it at every sporting event. The national anthem. We don't do the pledge.
Anthems, I understand. I anthems, we would have them. But do you have anthems at college too, and all of that level? And
oh yeah.
So that's not normal here. You would tend to only hear the anthem internationally, and again, that's perhaps where we're a little bit more sort of not off, but distant from it. Because you often have some singer, and if you go on YouTube, you'll see hundreds of videos where they go, "I'm not sure they nailed that today." It's a big job, man.
And y'all still over there fighting over a white rose or a red rose?
Oh, did you see though? I got Flea to confess that he'd welcome the Lancashire boys over. I was like, gonna be cheeky. They were big houses. I mean, that's Game of Thrones sort of world, isn't it?
They went and killed the dude, and then went and found his 22-year-old son and killed him just so there was no more question about bloodlines ever again. Can you imagine? I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to kill your entire family. That's some
very
Game of Thrones,
isn't it?
And they didn't invent that. That's some real stuff y'all did over there, man. That's I don't know if we've ever done anything like that over here. And as like an institution, I'm sure people have done it. Hatfields and McCoys, the old rednecks up in the mountains.
Bit of Yellowstone.
Sure,
yeah.
I don't think we do that, but y'all did a long time ago.
Oh, I mean, it is genuinely isn't a thing of pride, but yeah, we invented some mess.
Yeah,
we really did.
And we're just like Americans didn't come over to America, y'all did, and we just became Americans later on. That was y'all. That was us. I don't. It's dumb. Again, the only thing I will disagree or just say a little cynical. That is probably easy to live in Minnesota and not be a college football fan. You probably want to look at something else. I'll just say that's I get it. You probably not celebrating football too much in Minnesota.
You're not. Have you got anybody left in the NFL? Have you got a national team?
I don't pay attention to that. Out here in the Pacific Northwest, it is not a sports scene kind of thing. We're all outside hugging trees. To be honest with you, we're all tree huggers.
Wrestling bears.
You saw that? Wrestling bears. So
yeah.
There were three things I want to go back to. I was poor, not poor, religious, too religious, and I can't remember the other one. But it's such a contradictory situation. So why don't we go back to your voice and how we represent F3? And it does matter on a day-to-day basis how we present at the AOs. It matters how you present out in the community. And F3 does a phenomenal job presenting us as a disruption, as for good out there and helping. And that's our role. That's our absolute role. And I encourage guys to keep it up. And I appreciate everything everybody's doing out there. There still are, we're here to learn. Those people came from their backgrounds and they only saw what we gave them. We didn't give them anything else to see. That they saw that and they made their opinions based on previous history and their experiences. And maybe we need to give them more. Maybe we need to show them more.
Yeah.
And instead of just those two clips, I will advocate for those two clips. If you're going to reach all men, you got to go different ways, man. You can't, not just one video is going to resonate with all men. I kind of enjoyed the energy of the first one. I like the storytelling of the second one. I thought they both had strengths. That young lady was not naked, but I can see.
No, she wasn't naked.
I can see from that lady's perspective, and you're looking up on that video screen. Again, you podcast guys won't hear that or won't see that on it, but it's, from that angle, yeah, I could see where maybe if she didn't have her spectacles on, and she certainly made that assumption. That's it. Great conversation. Really appreciate that young lady bringing it up, and I hope you guys out there can just listen. If you're too busy trying to argue back, then that's not the point. I think the point is we're out there listening and growing and becoming better men. And at some point, we got to get women in here to tell us how to be better men as well. We're not going to do this alone. And if that's what it was, I have invited that young lady to be on a podcast with us. Hopefully she takes us up on it. We'll see.
We've got some ladies hopefully lined up for season 2, I think, on In Cadence. There's one or two that have said, could we come and talk to you? And I was like, what do you think, Flea? And we've kind of gone, yep. Although we have a brand new AO actually, so it's just started this week. So we're now on, I think it's 27. So my plan for season 1, Never to End, is working well.
Has Flea told you that I have 100% decided y'all had a mess on your podcast name?
Why? Go on. He hasn't told me that.
It should be On Europe.
On Europe.
On Europe?
No.
It's so good. If anybody out there wants to start a podcast called On Europe, we're going to kick in Cadence out of here, and
that would be cool. Yeah, no. Do you know what?
It's
though?
So clever.
we're quite On Europe, I suppose. Yeah, on my down on Europe. Yeah, I have to say, it is incredible. Even just be talking to you on the Circle of Trust. We're planning on Tuesday. We've got our next guest up from the Northeast, and I can't even believe we're doing it. And I make jokes that it's just me and my mum that listen, but just to be able to get guys on, talk about it, and being in, I led a 30-30 today, and I said we were going to come back to the heart of plant, grow, serve as the mission. Are we on point in terms of the focus? And I sat and listened to these guys in the rain, sharing their heart, and it just filled me with such joy to listen to them saying, I want to do more. We want to connect out more. We've got more to give, and recognizing in one or two places they need to love each other more. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so good. And it is, I've been I do my daily Bible, I do a daily devotion too. I've also been doing a Stoic daily reading, and I've been doing my daily 50 exercises, a different thing. And in the daily Stoic thing, it keeps reminding me to be less reactive, because sometimes I just fly off far too easily, and I don't let things happen and be more neutral about them. And I've been finding it very beneficial just to try and slow myself down, even at the age of 51. But yeah, it's so cool to be here. So thank you for having me to be part of your chat.
I just appreciate I get to text you every day. You just, man, just amazing dudes. Swinger over there, love Bolt, man, just those guys. And it's just F3 is just great dudes everywhere. It's so cool just walking up, and they accept you in right away. I've never been in any other community like this. All right, I got to run this. I got to sum this up. We're at an hour. Really appreciate you being on here. For those of you who don't know, I didn't tell Shredder we had an agenda. I said we're just going to talk about you, and so I threw all this at him. Kind of like life is. Life just throws you, and you got to deal with it. And I put him on a camera and made him talk to y'all about it. I'd prepared my words. Hopefully I did okay, but Shredder, thank you so much. Want to give a shout out to Tulip. I did a podcast with him, but I had an audio issue and I couldn't release it. It's one of those things, tech things. 800 beatdowns in a row, every single day, 800 days in a row. I don't know how he did it. He did take a day off to take his wife to the doctor's office. And so good for him for having his priorities straight. Also, I'm going to throw in a little video right here.
This is how legends are made. This is how legends are made.
Triple respect.
Triple respect. And I love it. His quote is when he goes out there, was that 60, 70? Is that right? Is that right?
Yeah.
His quote is, try to keep up with me. That's what he tells people. Try to keep up with me. I love that. State of the Nation t-shirts. We are finalizing that today. I'm looking at Malco and Scratch having a discussion of it right now on the Slack. Join the Nation Slack. Great conversations. I'm Shredder. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Kick ass, be kind out in the world, and hang on just a second, and we're going to upload our thing.